Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Chris Janette, and I'm the president of the Park Forest Historical Society. And on behalf of our entire board of directors, I welcome you to the Park Forest Hall of Fame induction for 2024. We're delighted to be back in Freedom Hall for another year of celebrating the accomplishments of these great park foresters that I have the privilege of being on stage with. Before we get started today, are there any sitting members of the Hall of Fame present in the audience today? Could you raise your hands? How about a quick round of applause for these people, please? Always love recognizing our Hall of Famers. This Hall of Fame began in 1989 and became an annual event in 1994. This is the 31st Hall of Fame induction and the 30th annual. While a great many things have changed in the past 30 years, there's one thing that hasn't, and I want to recognize her today. Our very own Jane Nickel, who has been involved in all 31 iterations of this induction ceremony and is the only member still active with us from that original 1989 induction ceremony. So thank you, Jane, for your long-time dedication to both the Society and the Hall of Fame. I also want to thank Jane and Jerry Schnee for their work on the program booklet and the biographies of all of our inductees here today, as well as all the board members for the Society for their work in putting on today's occasion. In addition to the Park Forest Local History Collection and Archive, the Society operates the 1950s Park Forest House Museum and offers several educational programs every year on park forest history and related topics. We've hoped that you've noticed our displays at Village Hall recently, which will continue throughout the year on various topics in park forest history as we continue to celebrate the 75th anniversaries of the village, which occurred in August of 23 and February of 24. Please seek out those displays and take the time to read them. We are extending those displays further at our museum throughout the 75th celebrations. And speaking of our continuous efforts, the Society would like to thank Village President Joe Woods, the Village of Park Forest Board of Trustees, and Village Manager Tom Mick for once again providing us with a $5,000 matching challenge grant. We're happy to announce here today that we have met our $5,000 goal from our members, friends, and supporters just like you for our current fiscal year. I also want to thank personally former Historical Society President Theresa Goodrich for her extremely generous personal donation. And a very sincere thank you to all of you who help us do this, because this matching grant truly helps us accomplish our mission of preserving and protecting the great history of this village. And since I just mentioned him, I'd like to take a moment to recognize one person who works every day to make Park Forest a very special place to live, and is now in his 25th year of doing so. While he's not yet eligible for Hall of Fame because he's not retired yet, we would like to acknowledge his contributions to the village. Tom Mick started service with the village in December of 1998 as assistant manager to Janette Munchnick. He became village manager himself in January of 2005. So thank you, Tom, for your excellence in serving the village and for being a proud supporter of our mission in preserving its history. Let's give Tom a quick round of applause. We'd also like to thank the Park Forest Public Library Board for their annual donation of 1/2 of our archive office expense. The archive collection was a library project supported with public funds, which the Society took over management of many years ago. It's still partially owned by the library, so we very much appreciate that they still feel a responsibility to support it and us with this vote of confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are always telling the story of Park Forest. That's why today is one of my favorite days of the year. I get the easy job of sitting here and listening to the personal recollections of fine park foresters such as these and honoring them for the great accomplishments they made to this village and the people who lived here. I want to again personally congratulate each of them for their induction to this hall today. So in order to get to those stories faster, it's high time that I sit down and yield to the next speaker. Here to give a welcome on behalf of the Village of Park Forest, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the Mayor Pro Tem of Park Forest, Ms. Theresa Settles.
Good afternoon. As stated, I am trustee and Mayor Pro Tem Theresa Settles. Village President Joseph Woods is at the Rockefeller Chapel at the University of Chicago this afternoon, attending memorial service for the late Cook County Clerk Karen Yarborough. He asked that I convey best wishes on his behalf, and I am most happy to do so. Mayor Woods and I, and indeed the entire Park Forest Village Board, are most grateful to the Park Forest Historical Society for its annual event that recognizes the contributions and accomplishments of so many of our citizens who have worked over the years to make our village the remarkable community that it is. Mayor Woods often notes that it is not infrequent that a citizen will mention to him of seeing the exhibit at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. that honors our town of Park Forest, or will comment to him about reading a reference to Park Forest in the organization Man, or even about reading a reference to Park Forest in going across few rocks in the Field Museum that are marked as the Park Forest Meteor. These are all things that make our community unique and gratifying that an organization such as the Historical Society works diligently to keep the heritage alive. So, to the Historical Society and its members, on behalf of the Mayor of Woods and the Board of Trustees, we say thank you for the good work that you do. But today is especially significant because we are here to honor some of those residents who have made our heritage possible. So to you, the honorees, I extend heartfelt congratulations. As the program progresses today, we will hear accounts of many contributions and accomplishments to our village over the years. Because of all that you have done, we say thank you to all of you too. All communities struggle day to day with issues and challenges, and Park Forest is no different in that regard. But while we know we have matters that need to be addressed, we also know we have a history that gives us a remarkable sense of pride. Today we honor that rich history. For the final analysis, this is the force that propels us forward. Let's celebrate with these special 2024 inductees and all previous Hall of Fame inductees also. Thank you very much.
And now to begin the induction portion of our program, I introduce our MC for today, the Vice President of the Historical Society, the Director of our museum, and our Head Archivist, Mrs. Jane Nickel.
Thank you. We'd like to note at our ceremonies which members of the Hall of Fame that we have lost, since we had not recognized these people done in memoriam for the years that we were doing them on video for 3 years. I'll be naming some that had passed before this year. But we have lost Roy R. Dillard and Anna Benita Dillard in the class of 2020, Edwin Pfizer, class of 2020, Gertrude Gold, class of 1995, Ruth Henkel, class of 2014, F. Patrick Kelly, class of 2001, Dolores Janata, class of 2018, John Joyce, class of 2013, A. Wayne Mann, class of 2014, Yvonne Robinson, class of 2018, H. Thurber Stowell, class of 2021, Al Sturgis, class of 2012, C. Shanti Thale, class of 2002, and Celia Ann Toll, class of 2011. So I'm sure they're with us today, though. They were proud members. Our first induction is for Sam Beber. Sam was a nominee of the Park Forest Historical Society Board. The list of achievements for Sam Beber extends from serving the needs of his Jewish identity to partnering in establishing the village of Park Forest and helping to transform the ancient city of Ashdod into Israel's largest seaport. At the age of 22, magna cum laude graduate of Creighton University in Omaha, Beber organized AZA, the initials of Aleph, Zadok, Aleph, into a Jewish boys' counterpoint to Greek letter college fraternities. Within a few years, the boys group, along with a girls division, BBG, became the B'nai B'rith Youth Organization. Sam later founded a camp for Jewish youth still in existence. One of Beber's disciples was Philip Klutznick, who enrolled in AZA and later served as president of the B'nai B'rith. Beber, a Russian-born attorney, became the brother-in-law of Philip Klutznick, who became president of American Community Builders, developers of Park Forest, and worked with Klutznick on numerous projects throughout his life. Sam became executive vice president and counsel to ACB. When Klutznick left Park Forest to lead B'nai B'rith, Sam remained, helping to run the development. At one time, Beber's residence was 91 Monee Road, a few houses down from the Klutznick home, both homes designed by nephew Bud Fitch. In the 1950s, Beber worked with Klutznick in his development of Ashdod, which Klutznick recalled consisted of nothing but sand dunes, a few houses, and a small power station. Today, high-rise buildings dot the city, which has a population of 225,000. Beber was active in numerous civic and philanthropic organizations, serving on the National Board of the Boy Scouts, the Jewish Welfare Board, and the United Jewish Appeal. We're proud to add Sam to the Hall of Fame. Accepting for the family is his granddaughter, Ann Abramson. Hall of Fame kid.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm here with my sister, Amy Abramson, and we are honored to accept this award on behalf of our grandfather, Sam Beber. He was and continues to be a great inspiration to both of us. With the support of his devoted wife, Helen, he created AZA and Beber Camp, and he helped found Park Forest. Amazingly, all of these entities are thriving today. The village of Park Forest is a testament to the vision that Sam, his brother-in-law Philip Klutznick, and the other founders shared. After the Great Depression and World War II, affordable housing was in short supply throughout the United States. Our grandfather represented American Community Builders, which sought not only to create affordable housing, but a true community for people from all walks of life. All residences, whether rental apartment buildings or standalone houses, were planned around courts where neighbors could congregate and children could play together under the watchful eyes of many parents. From all accounts, those who grew up here in Park Forest had an idyllic childhood. I lived in Park Forest for only the first 2 years of my life, but I recall visiting our grandparents frequently as a child. In fact, I still dream of their beautiful home on Monee Road. Perhaps I was emulating our grandfather when I began naming streets and neighborhoods in their garden. It was a place where my imagination could run free, from the weeping willow tree outside the bedroom window to the stone path next to the Japanese lantern where the frogs lived. I also fondly remember the warmth of family gatherings inside our grandparents' home. There, I continued my explorations of every room and piece of furniture, much to the chagrin of my ever-tolerant, beloved grandmother, Helen. For me, as a child, Park Forest was truly a magical kingdom where I could connect with community, family, and the natural world right in my grandparents' backyard. Park Forest came into being shortly after some of the darkest times in U.S. history. That gives me hope as we face many similar challenges today, including an ongoing need for housing where people of all backgrounds can thrive together in harmony with nature. I understand that Park Forest serves as a model for planned communities even today. I could not be more proud of that legacy. Thank you for honoring our grandfather, Sam Beber, and his role in the creation of this special place.
This is for the family. Okay, Gregory Randall was nominated by the Park Forest Historical Society Board. In 1994, Greg Randall contacted me as local history librarian to investigate what information and photographs the collection had on the history and building of Park Forest. As a professional landscape architect and planner with an interest in the history of city planning, he wanted to write a book on Park Forest. America's Original GI Town, Park Forest, Illinois, finally published by Johns Hopkins University Press in 2000, is 236 pages of well-researched, well-written history of Park Forest. It became a textbook for city planning students. It has been responsible for a resurgence of interest in Park Forest Place in mid-20th century suburbia. Because Greg used and credited so many images from our collection, it brought attention to the archive from national museums, other authors, and textbook publishers. Reference inquiries from researchers always begin with, "I've read GI Town already." This book will always serve as a scholarly, incredibly thorough study of how Park Forest came to be developed and built the way it was. He covers every aspect of the subject: history of the principles of American community builders, planning and design, construction methods, the social and political development of the village, and his own projections as a planner as to what the future may hold for Park Forest. In 2010, he published a revision to cover developments in the shopping center. Mr. Randall covers in thorough detail how the planners drew on the idealistic designs for garden cities and new towns, and from the original plans and ideals behind the government-built greenbelt towns of the 1930s. Some of the examples he uses are Frederick Law Olmsted's Riverside, Illinois, the plans for Radburn, New Jersey, Greenbelt, Maryland, Greendale, Wisconsin, and Green Hills, Ohio. With all of the history of planning in England and America, this gives an interesting background to what historical precedents Park Forest planners drew on in trying to make this one of the best examples of city planning to that date. He did not stop at what sources the collection had. After reading oral histories, he re-interviewed people like Carol F. Sweet and Edward Waterman, early ACB employees, and sought out Albert Pete's papers and Norman Schlossman's son. He talked to historians at the Art Institute of Chicago to place the importance of the architecture in Chicago history. I know he tried Lobel, Schlossman, and Haeckel's offices to see if they had preserved plans and found they had not. He redrew plans of the town layout so they would be more crisp. Drafts of the book were sent to Bernard Cunningham, Magni Olson, myself, and others to be sure of accuracy. Greg even has a Michener-like inclusion of the Indian tribes which populated the area in his first residence chapter, and the geological history of the region in his chapter, The Planning. Greg would want me to note that his wife, Bonnie, was at his right hand throughout the researching and typing of the manuscript. I'm proud that on release of the book, Greg gave me a letter saying if I had not called him every 6 months or so from 1994 to when he had it written, it might never have been finished. It was sometimes my calls that inspired him to keep pushing on. We sell copies of the 2010 edition at the museum and have copies for sale here today. Greg has gone on to write more than 20 thrillers, mysteries, and family-centered novels, and writes a blog, Writing for Death. One of his latest books, written with Bonnie, The Marigold Gang, is loosely centered in and around Park Forest, which is renamed Lincolnville. And his mystery, White Rabbit, features Flossmoor. We're proud to add Gregory C. Randall to the Park Forest Hall of Fame. And Gregory can't be here today, but he sent an acceptance speech. I wish to thank the Park Forest Historical Society, the Village of Park Forest, and most especially Jane Nichol Stover for selecting me for the singular honor of induction into the Park Forest Hall of Fame. As the author of America's Original GI Town, Park Forest, Illinois, I am grateful for the privilege of joining the other Hall of Fame honorees who contributed to making this village one of the most important and welcoming communities in America. My family came to Park Forest in 1952. We lived in one of the apartments on Ash Street and later at 157 Algonquin Street. My father, John, one of William H. White's organization men, took the IC into Chicago every workday and would form one of the first investment clubs in the village. My mother, Mary, an avid gardener, was involved in one of the garden clubs. I attended Dogwood and Algonquin elementary schools. Nonetheless, during that time, like most in this village of transients and upward movers, for a growing family, you had two options: add on or move. We moved and eventually settled in Chicago Heights, and I attended Marian Catholic High School. I had relatives and friends who lived in the village and spent many summer nights at the local dances and the shopping center, forming memories I still hold. I was there on the opening day of the Sears store. I watched Nixon's campaign speech as he stood on the awning of the Goldblatt store. I hiked in Sauk Trail Woods, attended summer camp, and watched To Kill a Mockingbird with my mother at the Holiday Theater. When I decided to write GI Town, I wasn't aware of its important place in the history of American urban development. I practiced urban planning and landscape architecture for more than 50 years, yet it wasn't until I dove into the history of Park Forest that I understood this village's seminal importance to post-war suburban planning and growth. There are other communities that claim an important role in post-war growth, but Park Forest is the only one that can claim that it was the first to grow from nothing to something. It is the result of the dreams of three people: Carol Sweet Sr., Nathan Manilow, and Philip Klutchnik, and the later dedication of hundreds of residents who formed and incorporated this village. And we have to include Sam. Sam's dreams, too. Since its inception in 1946 and incorporation in 1948, a monumental feat only GIs and their families could have performed. It has grown, evolved, economically changed, sometimes not for the good, been reborn, and now stands at the edge of a bright and prosperous future. I wonder what the next 25 years will bring. Again, thank you for this honor, and I salute you and all that you have accomplished here in Park Forest. Thank you. So let's give a round for him. Okay. And next, I present Vernice Johnson.
Hello, good afternoon. So again, my name is Vernice Johnson, and I have the distinct honor of being the sister, the baby sister of Vernice Johnson-Warren, who is an inductee today. And so I have to say that my sister is not just an exceptional leader and visionary in our community, but she's also, again, a beloved family member, a beloved mother, a beloved grandmother, a beloved wife, a beloved sister, cousin, and aunt, and all those other great things as well. And so, again, it's my honor to introduce her as she's inducted into the Park Forest Hall of Fame. Just to tell you a little bit more personal about Vernice from what you can read in the actual program. So from a very young age, Vernice has always shown a profound love for her community. And I'm sure all of you who know her can really attest to this. I remember how she would rally my brother and me, against our will, sometimes, of course, encouraging us to join her in various community groups or volunteer efforts. Her passion for bringing people together and making a positive impact has always been evident. Vernice's dedication extends beyond public service. She is the life of any gathering, and if you've been in a gathering with her, you all know that very well as well. But it's not just because she's outgoing, but because her genuine care for people shines through. She knows someone everywhere we go, connected with individuals on a deeply personal level, which is perhaps why her impact here is so profound. Over the years, Vernice has held significant roles, as you've read in the program, from leading the Park Forest Youth Commission to being a pivotal figure at the Will County Community Health Center, ensuring residents in East Will County have better access to care. As president of the Talala, I never could pronounce that, Vernice, Elementary School PTO, she didn't just lead, she transformed the organization, securing grants that revitalized the school playground and ensured no student was left behind on class trips Forest due to financial constraints. Her innovation was also seen in the creation of Haunts Against Hunger, turning a simple school event into a community-wide initiative that supports local food pantries. And let's not forget, she's also the co-owner of the Flaming Hottie's Chili, best chili in the world, bringing a little extra flavor to our local farmers market and Main Street nights. So despite Vernice's busy schedule, I have to say, my sister always makes time for family. She has balanced her extensive commitments with being a constant presence in our lives, embodying the true spirit of community and family unity. So as we celebrate Vernice's induction today, it is clear that her tireless dedication and compassionate leadership have not only enriched our lives, but have uplifted the entire Park Forest community. She has taught us the value of service and the impact one individual can have on the hearts and lives of many. Please join me and my family, the other inductees, and this wonderful community in really applauding Vernice as a true pillar of our community. Again, my sister Vernice Johnson-Warren.
Thank you, Valon, and I'm so honored to have accepted get this honor today. I'm still tearing up for my sister, so sorry, and you don't see that much. Usually I'm the strong one. But the Village of Park Forest has been on me for my whole life. Even today, when I get together with friends, we're all like, let's take a picture. Who's Park Foresters? Who's Matsons? Who's Olympia Fields? We all get along. It is. It just has been a wonderful childhood, and there's many people in this room who has made it a wonderful adulthood, and I'm so happy to be an adult now, you know, just so happy to be here. But, you know, we're going to continue this, you know, as I get older, hitting retirement. I'm looking forward to what I have to come. I think there's so much more to do. I look at many people in this room who have retired and then retired again and then retired again. But not necessarily retiring from the jobs, but retiring for organizations or staying part of organizations. That's what makes us special here in Park Forest, you know. When my sister mentioned that there's not a place that we go to where there's someone that we may not know, that's just because of who we are. We're talking at the farmers market. We're talking when I was here doing the King and I at Ridge Central in high school. The years, it's been just years of connection. I just want to also thank and reach out to my family, my husband, Michael. I have 5 kids, so all through all of that, I got 5 kids. Okay, my oldest, Vernon, Darius, Avery, Michelle, and Michaela, and my granddaughter, Elin. They're all part of sometimes taking time away, you know, to do something. And I think sometimes in life they got tired of me saying, can you help me out again? Can you be in this haunted house thing for me? Or can you show up? But we're going to continue doing that. And I'm so happy that my children are somewhat the same like me. They're all active and very community involved. So thank you everyone from me, my family, my sister, my brother. Thank you so much for honoring me today.
Okay, and then I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Ari Kristen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Ari Christian, and I want to introduce a past co-worker and a good friend. Betsy Williams initially came to live in Park Forest in 1987 with her son PJ and daughter Nicole, and immediately became involved in the community and the Crete-Moniz School District. Betsy has dedicated almost 4 decades volunteering in Park Forest and over 3 decades volunteering in the Rich Township community and District 227 community. She began working in School District 227 in 1993 as the head cook at the Rich South Campus, now the Fine Arts Center. After several promotions, she has been the district's food service director for the past 11 years. Betsy has played a monumental role in effecting significant improvements in the food service department. Her resilience, commitment, and volunteer efforts extend beyond daily meal expectations and community involvement. She has revamped the menu to comply with state and federal guidelines. She's introduced a food court concept. She has yearly Thanksgiving and Christmas baskets for deserving families. She's a member of the diversity dinner team, Kiwanis Club treasurer and member for many years, PTSO band booster facilitator, community family fun night facilitator, and the annual pancake breakfast with Santa facilitator. Senior citizen breakfast and bingo facilitator. She and volunteers from her staff began serving Rich Township senior services by providing meals for senior citizens, attending activities and lunch at the Shirley Green Senior Center in Park Forest. In 2020, when the schools were closed during the pandemic, Betsy led a group of volunteers and food service staff members in devising a program to serve weekly meals to all the children in the Rich Township area. Out of curbside tents, nearly 2 million meals were served during the pandemic. This past November, after many months of phone calls, emails, negotiations, and planning with the Greater Chicago Food Depository, she led the food service and special education teams to open the first school food pantry in the South suburban area. Rich Township families order online. Shelf-stable items, produce, frozen meats, proteins, and household items. The pantry is available to any family in the township. It is not dependent on income. She is working on adding delivery and a clothing bank. Betsy Williams is not only an asset to District 227, Park Forest, the Rich Township community, and also the South suburban area. As Betsy looks back on her nearly 4 decades living and serving in Park Forest and the Rich Township community, she hopes she has had a positive impact on the children and families. I know she has. I will close with one of Betsy's favorite quotes. "It is amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit." Betsy.
Here's your pen.
Oh, thank you very much. Good afternoon. It is a true honor to have been nominated and selected for induction in the Park Forest Historical Society Hall of Fame. My family has a long history with Park Forest, as my brother-in-law, Russ Hoganson, was one of the original residents in Park Forest. He and his sister Vicki graduated from Rich East in the early 60s, and his parents Sid and Shirley Hoganson were longtime residents over on Hickory Street. My own family moved here in 1987, and Park Forest turned out to be the perfect place for my children to grow up. I chose Park Forest because of the affordability and the racial diversity, and I knew it would offer great opportunities to my family. My children thrived in the Crete-Monee 201U district, excelled in sports, enjoyed all the small-town advantages of the library, the aqua center, the tennis club, and all the many youth programs that were offered here. For me, it was truly the definition of a village raising your children, with all the caring teachers, dedicated coaches, helpful neighbors, everyone helping this busy working mom to raise 2 successful adults. I was lucky to come to work in the high school district in 1993, where I found my workplace home. And I continue to work looking forward every day to serving the students and the families of the community. I have met some of the finest people that you could ever know in Park Forest through my connections with Park Forest baseball, softball, Kiwanis, the South Suburban Diversity Dinners Committee, the Village of Park Forest, and all the members of those people that work there, and the school district. My 6 grandchildren also love Park Forest, growing up spending many, many hours and happy times at my house, playing in the many parks, taking long nature walks, swimming at the Aqua Center, and still taking tennis lessons at the tennis club, even though they don't live in Park Forest. Memories I know that they will all cherish. By far, Park Forest has given me more and my family more than we could ever repay. Any contributions I may have made could never compare to what Park Forest has given to us over the 37 years that we've lived in the village, that I've lived in the village. I want to thank my friend and former colleague, Ari Christian, for nominating me. Thanks to all the wonderful people that I have had the honor to serve with on the many committees and organizations that I've been able to serve with. And I have very much thanks to the Park Forest Historical Society for choosing me for this great honor today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jane.
Congratulations. Okay, then they're taller than me. I want to present Jessica Wood.
I'm also short, so this works. Okay, in 2020, my mom, Janette Wood, wanted to do something for Park Forest in a time when people couldn't go out and see each other, to try and bring people together when they couldn't physically be together. So she turned to her rocks. By painting rocks and leaving them around town, she contributed to the beautification of the village and to people's spirits and mental health, giving them an activity to look forward to. Since then, she's used her rock art to further bring the community together, helping with a collection for the Salmonok Snake, hosting Easter rock painting each spring. In addition to her rock art, long before 2020, she contributed in a lot of different ways to the community. She led guitar mass at St. Irenaeus. She led the children's choir at Grace United Protestant. She has taught Sunday school at multiple churches that I went to, including Faith United Protestant. She also volunteered and then later worked for Aunt Martha's, where she met my dad. And she contributed when I was in Girl Scouts. As a Girl Scout, she helped with a lot of fundraising. Most significantly, I have this memory of us selling Girl Scout cookies or like fundraising for different, we went to like Savannah, Georgia, and her and the other troop leaders and moms would be like out on the corner, like asking for money or donations, or I feel like they might have like checked IDs for concerts and collected donations there, but was just very like innovative in that way of helping her daughter get to Savannah, Georgia and learn about the history of Girl Scouts. She also went to Governor's State College as a registered nurse and later graduated in healthcare administration and has worked for the village health department as well as Aunt Martha's leading health classes. Let's see. That's probably a lot about my mom, but I think the most important thing is that she's just the most selfless person that I know. And has just like always willing to like put down what she's working on or what her priorities are if somebody needs her, whether it's her friends or her family or her very needy daughter. And I think that's a huge accomplishment. So here's my mom, Janette Wood.
Here's your Hall of Fame pin.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm short too. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you for nominating me. and approving me to be added to the Hall of Fame. Many of you may know me as the Rock Lady, or the Rock Queen, like my husband likes to call me. I kind of prefer Rock Diva myself, but hey, that's me. You might remember me from playing guitar at St. Irenaeus when I was all of 12 years old. Seriously. Actually, I worked at the Jewel. That was another one of my things, and also as a visiting nurse. Someone called me an artist the other day, and I responded, I am not an artist, but I do lots of artsy stuff. And she said, well, that's what all the artists say. Kind of how I'm feeling about this award. I'm not sure I'm worthy, but I think I do a lot of good stuff. I grew up in Park Forest, and over the years, I've been involved in various levels with many of the great organizations in Park Forest. I served on boards, volunteered at church, school, sports, and other places, usually because one of my kids joined and help was needed. Help is always needed. I may not have been the leader of these groups, but I have done a lot of leaderish things. And Park Forest has so many great groups. One of my favorite quotes is from Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Park Forest certainly has many thoughtful, committed citizens. So 2020 happened. Pandemic, George Floyd, wildfires. It was definitely one of those worst of times years that Dickens referred to. We were all stuck at home, fearful of human interaction. Everything was shut down. Many lost lives and livelihoods. Depression, loneliness, helplessness, anger, fear. And I thought, what can I do? How can I deal with this? So I started to paint rocks. Lots and lots of rocks. And I thought, what am I going to do with all of these rocks? And I found out about the Kindness Rocks movement, a grassroots movement to try to bring a little more kindness, joy, and compassion into the world. One of their mottos is, one message at just the right moment can change someone's entire day, outlook, life. So it became my mission to leave rocks with inspirational messages around our town in an effort to make the world a kinder, gentler place. And I started getting feedback from you, my friends and neighbors, and people whom I'd never met. What I was doing resonated, was reaching people. People had a reason to go for a walk. A simple message that things were going to be okay, that the world was not all bad, that there is good out there if you look around. And I was inspired by you to keep going, to keep at it, to keep showing up, to keep adding positive energy to the world, or at least our little corner of it. So if you see a kindness rock out there, keep it. Leave it. Move it for someone else to find. And thank you again for this Hall of Fame award. I'm honored.
Thank you. If you haven't seen the rocks, go looking. They're beautiful. All right, and then Jessica's going to present Warren. The Historical Society Board saw the nomination for Janette and said, long ago had decided couples ought to go in together. And Warren's certainly worthy, so Jessica's going to read his nomination for us.
My gosh, I'm the worst public speaker here, and you let me get up here twice. So that's an accomplishment. People always ask me how I got into social work. I've been working in social work since 2013 or so. 2009. People always ask me how I got into social work, and I say, I've been doing this professionally for over 10 years, but I pretty much was raised in social work because of my dad. He, as I said earlier, met my mom at Aunt Martha's Youth Service Center, but he has been a lifelong resident of Park Forest, went away to college at Western Illinois University, and then came back and immediately started volunteering at Aunt Martha's. And so much of his life, his spirit, his passion went into his work there, where he touched thousands of people's lives. I was thinking earlier today how everywhere that we have gone as a family, when I was growing up, someone knew him. Whether it was one of his former employees, one of his current employees, one of his coworkers, someone he volunteered with, someone that he was on the Ash Street board with, someone that he coached softball with, someone that was a client when he was at Aunt Martha's. Like, he has done so many things that literally everywhere we go, someone's like telling us how my dad changed their life. So that's pretty wild just to think about. He changes my life every day, but if I think about all the other lives that he's touched, it's just pretty amazing. Over his more than 40 years at Aunt Martha's, he, like I said, touched thousands of lives, and he really just always was able to jump in and lend a helping hand in so many different ways. But he always brought me to work with him too, whether that was coming to the office to like shred things for some reason, or help out at Head Start, or go on youth trips in the summertime. I always was just there, and it was really inspirational for me, and it led me to get into social work myself. So I ended up going into a career working with youth in foster care, youth experiencing homelessness, and I don't think that I ever would have even thought about doing that if it wasn't for having watched my dad do that for so long. So, with that, congratulations, Warren Wood.
I've got notes in my pocket, but I'm probably not going to use any of them. I think the thing I want to start with is sharing with you our last inductee. Janette and I, come this August, will have been married 44 years. How's that for pandering to the crowd? So it's been a wonderful life, and my son and my daughter and my sister are here, and lots of friends of ours, and this is just a really nice occasion, and I'm thankful for it. I run into lots of people who tell me they were early park foresters, and then they'll share something about when they moved in from wherever they moved from. I was born here in 1954, so one day at Ingalls Hospital, the next day I lived in Park Forest on Blackhawk, later on Miami, later on the Ash Street Cooperative, and we have a house now in Westwood. So I am a lifelong park forester. Skip a few years, I was away at Western Illinois. In those years growing up, my brother Wally, my sister Debbie, and I would not like to share with you any stories about not living in a great environment. But what I will share with you is that we were supported so much by friends at church and in scouting. So I always had something to join, somewhere else to belong. My friend Dennis Rice, his mother would make what I wanted for lunch rather than what he wanted. The people just looked out for all of us, and that was so important at that time. So joining organizations became pretty natural to me. I talked to Gary Leofanti, the founder of Aunt Martha's, before I even left for college, and said, I want to come back and I want to do something that gives back. I don't know that I want to be a youth worker for the rest of my life, but I know at that age, that at 18, that I wanted to give something back, that I owed something back to the world. And it was so important that, right away, out of college, I was able to volunteer and then go on staff, and 44 years of service in one way or another in various programs. I ran 38 different kinds of programs in many, many communities in Chicago, in Park Forest, in Kankakee, in Joliet, in Riverdale, homeless programs, foster care programs, and I got them, much like Jessica said and Janette said earlier, because there was a need. Somebody would say, well, you're running the employment program now, it's going really well, it must be pretty easy to run now that it's going well, why don't you take this next thing? Why don't you take that next thing? So I ran, at one point or another, every program Aunt Martha's had except health clinics and DCFS group homes. So, if you think about all the different kinds of things that our organization did with more than 1,000 employees, they were radically different kinds of things, from Head Start to drug abuse treatment. And doing that work, you only get smart at doing it on both levels. You get smart at doing it out on the streets, learning what the program's really like, doing the job side by side, people, and hearing directly from the clients who are going to benefit from that work. And you learn it by understanding the science of doing it well, and that meant joining professional organizations. So much like when we worked in the co-op, and I was the president of the Ash Street Co-op, much of my job as president was to get to know the people who lived there, but also get to know from other people, the National Association of Housing Cooperatives, how that worked. In youth work, it was very much the same. I was the Illinois Prevention Steering Committee person for several years because no one else wanted to step up and do it, and because I was learning a lot by doing it. And the same thing for the Alliance to End Homelessness and the Illinois Alcoholism and Drug Dependence Association. It's just, in order to be good at anything, you really have to spend a lot of time listening to others who do it or who receive those services. And I think those things were really important to me at that time. I want to say something else about scouting. For us, there were no family vacations. There were no dinner parties. No other adult couple ever came into my house. Never. And so the adults I met were people in scouting and church youth fellowship and activities like that. And that took me many opportunities to learn how to do things. And again, people coming forward and saying, we need help, we need to expand the daycare centers so pre-adolescents have somewhere to go and don't have to work in the field. And so we developed an activity program that would go on and a tutoring program that would go on when I was still in Scouts. And for that, I got the God and Country Award, but more importantly, that program existed for 12 more years after we did it. So just thinking you can do something sometimes is enough to pull off getting it done. Kind of the last thing I want to say is about the Board of Directors of the Historical Society and the museum. This is really your museum. This is your historical society. Come by. If you can't volunteer and you can't donate, come by and just give us feedback. What do you like at the museum? What don't you like? You know somebody who we haven't nominated over the years to be a part of the Honor Society, it's really important that we hear from you and you say, hey, I thought of this one more person. Thank you very much. I'm very honored.
Well, thank you. I think we have a pretty wonderful class. I wanted to say thank you to all of you who came in on such a beautiful day to sit inside while we do this. I think that people have become tipped off that we run these on YouTube later. And we should note for those who are seeing a video of this is not as large a crowd as we usually can have, that although this is April 14th, this is the first day of summer in Park Forest, and it's quite beautiful outside, quite warm. And so we appreciate all of you who have come inside, because it makes a difference to everyone here to have those smiling faces in the audience. And I just want to note, after the program, new inductees, you remain on the stage for a group portrait that our photographer will take. And anyone in the audience who's a member of the Hall of Fame, you come to the stage down the side or come around the back using the ramp, and we take a group photo of all the Hall of Famers who are here today after the current class photo is taken. We do remind you to visit the museum. Warren's a docent, so he knows what it's like to wait and hope, and how much fun it is when someone does come. It's decorated for spring and vintage Easter and Passover, and we have scrapbooks by ACB and other documents not usually on display. And so it's a good time to come and see and learn more about Park Forest history during its 75th anniversary. We still need more volunteers to show the museum. Some have told me they would like to come back, and I hope to have a training soon. I've adjusted the script somewhat, the introduction mostly. So we want to have a training. And if you're not a member of the society, this includes people here, but it also includes people that are watching on YouTube later. If you're not a member of the society, why not? And join. We need you. It has been difficult to have rotating displays at Village Hall for the 75th as what was planned. But with the Hall of Fame over, I hope to get some fresh boards up and also have a display at the library. And I try to attend 2 committee meetings for the 75th each month. I'm serving as a resource person and spent time providing photos for that and other projects recently. So every time I get a question from outside, it knocks those display boards back. So I had the Leadership Academy come for a visit last month or end of February, and Tom Mick said, those were going to rotate, weren't they, Jane? And I'm like, yeah. So this past week I spent hours scanning photos and invitations from many of the 31 years of Hall of Fame, and we were hoping they were running as a slideshow in the reception area. We need to try again to put the thumb drive on that program and see if they'll download. I scanned them fairly large, and they're not cooperating. And but I at least made a big dent in getting the photographs scanned. From about 2011 on, the photos are born digital, and those it was too much of a challenge to get downloaded to the computer to be put on this in the time I had. I don't know if any of us who met in 1989, then began the annual event in 1994, had any idea we would reach a 30th annual event. Chuck Gold made the suggestion. Magni Olson was instrumental in getting it underway, but other movers and shakers were part of it, including Ray Janette. And those meetings were a real Park Forest think tank of who should be here, who should be on the list, who should we be thinking about. Jane Steinmetz is the other surviving committee person, and she came on, I believe, in 1939, or excuse me, yeah, that'd be good, 1993. And I think she helped write the nominations, as all were board nominations in 1994. And we inducted 12 that day, and never again. But I also want to note that we've had several MCs over the years. Maggie Olson did it for many years. Jerry Schnee took over. And then Theresa Goodrich had done it for several years. And we're very happy to have them with us. And there are many pictures of everyone who did everything for Hall of Fame. We have beautiful pictures of so many people who were involved in Park Forest are in those Hall of Fame pictures, even in the audience, and enjoying the refreshments, things like that. So, we thank all of the members of our class for 2024 for the wonderful things they do and have done to make Park Forest a special place to live. Nominations for the Hall of Fame are accepted from the public from October 1st through December 31st each year on a required form provided by the Society and with supporting documentation. Guidelines and the forms are on our website. We also distribute them around town. For more information, you can contact me via email on the website. Again, that's parkforesthistory.org. It's up to you to get people nominated so we can induct them into the Hall of Fame. Look to your left and look to your right. Someone you know should be nominated next year. Thank you for coming, and let's have another round of applause for our entire class.